Hello, my dear folks. Welcome to the show. Jack Chow hosting East West Show with G&E TV. As we all heard from the news that in Orange County there is something, I call it a robotic power that calls everybody's attention. And somebody called it a controversy. I call it a kind of like a bizarre situation and a bizarre case. I know, of course, by then you know what I'm talking about. Orange County Superior Court Judge Mark Kelly made his ruling over a 19-year-old sex predator who sodomized a 3-year-old girl. So for 10 years only, even though the mandate was 25 years above to life. So to get to the point, to understand the case, to understand this sentence or ruling, I have invited a famous attorney, criminal attorney, Mr. P.O. Kim of Lim Ruger and Kim. This is law firm. So Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack, for inviting me.
All right.
It's certainly a pleasure.
I thank you very much for coming out of here after your busy schedule to catch the show. Right? Very good. So, can you please brief our audience about the case? Because what I say is not in a legal term. So, can you please?
Sure. The case itself is relatively simple and straightforward. Mr. Rohano, who's I believe is 20 years old now, had sodomized a 3-year-old girl in a garage of his residence. The specific sexual acts were a very quick penetration of the child's anus and having the child masturbate him shortly thereafter. So that is the totality of the specific acts relating to the sexual conduct in question.
And it caused some tears.
The child complained to her mother, and her mother found that there was a little tear in her anus.
Step down. Now, last week, the Superior Court judge ruled that it would be cruel and unusual punishment to sentence Kevin Jonas Rojano Nieto to the mandatory 25 years to life in prison for sodomizing a 3-year-old girl. So he cut that sentence down to a 10-year prison term. Prosecutors say Rojano Nieto was playing video games in the garage of his Santa Ana home last June when he sexually assaulted the child who was a relative. Rojano Nieto covered the child's mouth when her mother came looking for her. He did eventually let her go. Now, in his ruling, Judge Kelly writes, quote, "He inexplicably became sexually aroused but did not appear to consciously intend to harm the victim when he sexually assaulted her. In an instant, he reacted to a sexual urge and stopped almost immediately." Now, the reduced sentence is leading to multiple petition drives to have Kelly removed from the bench, among them a Facebook page which has about 8,500 likes so far and a change.org petition. Also, Orange County Supervisor Tony Rackauckus calling the reduced sentence illegal. He plans to appeal. So again, a lot of growing outrage here involving this case. We're live.
The child, I believe, was seen by child psychologists and the probation officers who made certain recommendations to the judge. I don't know what those recommendations were, but I'm sure that judge took them into consideration when he made that ruling.
All right.
So I think in media there have been a lot of reports about what the various political leaders, activists are calling for, namely the resignation of Judge Kelly. Unfortunately, there hasn't been as much coverage relating to the specific facts of the case and the perhaps the reasons why judge made the ruling that he did. Now, one thing that we really need to keep in mind is that the judge had in front of him the totality of the facts and factors that was the basis for his ruling. So in some ways, what you and I will be discussing isn't going to reflect what he knew. So I think we're going to be speculating as to what he did and why he did what he did. However, I think towards fairly good extent, we could say we know what was his basis for his ruling. So let me just give you some of the factors that have not been, I think, sufficiently addressed in the media. The judge was confronted with, in my mind, a extremely unusual situation, and he himself says it. He is a former prosecutor, so he's not exactly easy sentencer. And he, I believe, has been on the bench, I believe, 13 or 15 years.
15 years.
15
It
years.
says right
So-
here, yeah.
So he is a fairly experienced judge with the prosecution background. So he's not somebody you would typically think as somebody who would be really easy on the defendants. So the question really is, why did he do what he did? He himself says that this was a really unusual case for him. And I believe there are several reasons why he felt that way. The biggest reason, I believe, was this. He was confronted with a tragedy involving a family. Now, without really divulging the identity of the victim, what I could tell you is that there is a family relationship between Mr. Rohano and the child. In another way of saying it is this. Both the victim and Mr. Rohano belongs to a one family. So whatever the judge was going to do, it's not going to impact Mr. Rohano, but the family of Mr. Rohano and the victim.
So what's so special about the family?
Well, when you are sentencing a defendant, typically what you're thinking about is the defendant himself. Not so much the victim, not so much the victim's family.
All right.
You're saying, look,
Okay.
I'm going to send you to prison for 10 years. So as a judge, I'm thinking, all right, he's going to be going away for 10 years. Maybe his family is going to be impacted by it. But you're not really thinking that that decision is going to impact the victim and the victim's family. Unfortunately, that was the case here, because both the victim and Mr. Rohano belong to a single family. The judge had to decide how his decision was going to impact the family. I think my decision will be more easily understandable if I tell you this fact. I was reluctant to tell you this fact.
Okay,
because-
please.
Because really, the goal is to protect the victim by not disclosing her identity. But I think there's enough out in the public domain that has already identified the victim. So I think I could go ahead and tell you
Yeah,
this.
sure.
The mother of Mr. Rohano is the mother of the child.
Okay. Of
Right.
the victim child.
Right.
Right.
So
In other words, is the brother
So
to his own sister, same mother,
half-
by the same mother.
half-sister.
Half his sister.
Right.
Okay. Just to say, the part that I do not understand is that, just say, you cannot rape even your wife, even the relationship is there, even the marriage is there. You cannot simply rape her.
Sure.
Right? So the relationship between the criminal and the victim doesn't even count. Am I right?
In terms of conviction, it does not. It does not matter what your relationship is. You could be a mother and son relationship, husband and a wife relationship,
right,
whatever the
okay.
relationship is.
All right.
But as a judge sentencing the particular defendant, you have to take into consideration a number of different factors,
Mm-hmm.
including how that sentence is going to impact the society and how that sentence is going to impact the victim and victim's family.
All right.
For instance, I don't know exactly what.
Let's take a short moment out. When we come back, we'll still keep on digging out. And if, excuse me, because I have no legal background, right?
Right.
I may ask stupid questions, but
No
no matter
question is
how
ever
stupid the
stupid.
questions are, so that is, they represent some take, right? So, my dear audience, today I have the honor of having Mr. Kim, a criminal attorney of Lim Ruger and Kim, the law firm from Los Angeles, to come join here to talk about the OJ Superior Court decision ruling case. All right, so let's take a short moment out. When we come back, we'll find out where I'm getting lost. So stay with us, please.